first, I would like to congratulate the team who's been putting a lot of effort on this project for the last 2 years. A lot of research, a lot of planning. Hannah, with Leslie and Sasha, they're the architectural design on this project, and Peri is with Fabian. I don't want to forget anybody else, with Sam and Roberto, the technology that they brought here to Houston, the 3D technology printing. We're very proud to be part of this project as the structural engineers and the general contractors on this iconic project. It's the first 3D two-story printed house in the US.
Well, this has been a very collaborative effort, and so first of all, we need to ensure the structure has strong integrity, and that's where CIV's engineering service, working closely with Dr. Hikma. I think there were a period of time where we were meeting every day. Like for every progress that we had, we were going back and forth. And we were also able to get the City of Houston Planning Department involved early, months before we even have our drawings completed. We communicated with them about the projects, the design, and discussed the protocols of inspection. So for a project like this, it would necessitate a bit more an on-site inspection than regular construction.
I'm back here with Sam Hager at the Peri construction site. What's going on, Sam?
Welcome back.
It's great to see you guys are like, what, 20 feet up over there and 5 different sections printed.
So, all in all, this will be 20 active printing hours to complete this home. It's going to be over 4,000 square feet, and we have a precast element. Our chimney is going to be above 40 feet, so very tall, very massive structure, meaning it's the high-end style architecture of previous project in Arizona, which great. That was more the affordable efficient housing. This is leaning kind of more towards the other side. How can you put large structure? What geometric and architectural things are you able to get away with within 3D printing without going a little bit too hard? So this is very much a research project for us to try to push the limits and gather as much learning as possible.
Yeah, you guys pushed the boundaries, explored new territory. You even mentioned there was a collapse, you guys managed to see it. So we got to see all this learning and experience. It's incredible. I really appreciate you guys showing me around today.
Yeah, the last time you were here, we were actively printing this section. We have broken our home into 6 different sections. There's 3 separate floors. This is the back end of the home. Each one are printed up to 10 feet. Then they will get grouting, insulation, electrical plumbing work, which is all inspected and certified by the city. And then we will resume printing up to the final height. So this section is actually now complete. So we are past halfway done. We are now on to the front end of the home where we have finished the middle section and we are actively printing the front end. So I'm quite happy with everything you have here. Behind this wall is a staircase that is going to lead up to the 2-story formal living room. You can kind of see there's windows that go up along with the building, but this is a very nice representation of what the final product will be. So very tall geometric shapes. So we are now up at the top of the back section of the home. So I'm standing roughly 20 or so feet in the air. So this section is now done with the 3D printing. The first level has been grouted and insulated. So we are using a spray foam expanding foam. So you can see it's quite hard. It also gives us a nice waterproof barrier between the outside and the inside. So concrete's a sponge. It will take on and release water. So this is a convenient waterproofing solution for the interior of our home. So we kind of get the best of both worlds. It's a very nice insulated material. It's also strong structurally, which will basically fill the gap and not allow any movement of the wall. And also it provides a waterproof membrane in between the inside and the outside of the wall. So this is now waiting on grout. We've had the city of Houston come out, take a look. It's all thumbs up. So we are just waiting on the pour. And since then, we have actually moved our printer. So we used to have a printer that you would see back behind me. We have now moved it to the front end of the home, and we've also expanded it.
So you guys had section where you're just standing on the full height, and then you said you moved the printer.
Correct. So we went from a 4-leg setup up to a 6-leg setup. This was the next section that we wanted to tackle. We're currently standing where the kitchen island will be. So over to my right, we have our stove area, and then back behind the camera is where our refrigerator is going to go. We have what we really wanted to focus on in this section is integration of trades and how to be as efficient as possible. So that's something we really learned on the first section is a home like this, you're going to have electrical, you're going to have plumbing, you're going to have gas all over. We have probably over a couple hundred windows in this home with how many overhangs and step backs there are. So those take a lot of coordination and a lot of thought to be able to get everything happening at the right time. So if you hit a window height, you don't have to window for 150 a day, you don't need to have that window placed and boxing exactly where it needs to go. Same thing with electrical boxes. This one, you're going to have a headache putting that into the wall. It's much easier to place it in. All the concrete so cracking away. So what we took from the back section, we tried to get as much guardians out of that while we were moving the printer and come up with a new plan of how to have as few people be on site as possible, facilitate everything done with no hiccups, with no gaps, with no stopping. That's something we're really proud of. And actually, what you're looking at here is printed by a new hire and a engineer. So there's a lot that needs to be considered when it comes to a house like this. How can I distribute my structural loads to have as little concrete in the foundation as possible? How can I print and avoid things that need to stub up, especially gas lines? We would hate for the printer to bump into those. So this house was in development for over a year before we began printing, and we really wanted to take a look at every single little detail. How are we going to get away with maximum overhangs? How are we going to integrate our plumbing, our electrical?
Are there any tricks for the lentils?
So the lentils, what we did before is we'd print up to a certain height and then backfill it because it comes over and then it steps back. And now we are having someone on site whose job it is to fill those. So we're able to continue printing. Even if we get to one of those step over changes, we don't need to stop for the day. We can keep hammering, keep going. And we try to print 2 to 3 feet per day. Each section is a little over 10 feet. So I guess you can do the math, but we're trying to really reduce the number of days overall it takes to finish and complete this project. The ultimate goal of this house is not only the beautiful architectural high-end home, it's learnings, because ultimately we want to transition this house and this footprint into multi-family housing. So all the structural solutions, the MVP solutions, can easily be rolled over into a much more efficient multi-family style construction. And that is what we're hoping to be the next step for us with this style of building. So not highly efficient, repeatable, but highly efficient, repeatable, multi-family, large-scale building solutions. So this is our front door. You can see we've taken the time to cut this away. That's something we learned in our Arizona project. It's much easier to attach a door to not the bumpy surface, but the flat surface. And we could have printed this home with smoothing flaps. I'm sure some of your viewers have seen printing with flaps. We decided to leave the layered look. One, because this house is so unique. We want, when you're driving down the street, if you look over out the car window, hey, this house is different. There's something going on there. Why does it look that way? And also, I've become quite fond of the layered look. Also, with the overhangs, it lends itself quite nicely to the pancake stack look. So that if you have flaps and you start stepping over, those flaps will then dig into the layer below it. As you come in here, this is going to be a nice coat closet. This will be a kind of a bathroom area. And back behind there, in that wooden box, is our utility closet. So that's where we have our water heater and other utilities. That will be kind of tucked away back in the back side of the home. So these outlets are placed, and we have a design solution where we are able to throw these in mid-print, and then that's it as far as the printing team side. So we are able to fish down with conduit inside of this is actually a structural column. So our structural column is housing our electrical conduit and our rebar and our structural solution. So we are able to use that cavity as efficiently as possible. So after you enter the home, if you turn left, you will enter kind of the main entryway. So to my right will be a number of bookshelves. The final end user of this home is a art collector. So they have all sorts of pottery and other arts. So throughout this entire home, you'll see countless shelves and interesting shapes cut into the wall. Those will ultimately be shelving units to show off the art collection of the final user. What you see here is going to be where our staircase is. So a lot of this wall is going to be hidden by the actual wooden staircase.
How much time do you have to make that cut? before you need a saw?
So you could wait maybe an hour or so, but what we found is about every 3 layers we want to go in. So right here, this material is nice and solid. If I hit it with you can see it's a little bit crumbly. If you come up here, it's soft and almost like a Play-Doh consistency. So there is a sweet spot of where you want to be before you make the cut. If you agitate this too much, it will start to deform and shrink. It is a Newtonian fluid, so when you add vibration and you shake it, it will become soft, but when you leave it alone, it becomes firm. So that's what allows the material to be stackable and pumpable. So here you get a nice view of kind of our approach to 3D printing, at least the structural solution on this. So in this gap down here where the walls aren't touching, this is where our insulation will go. And something that you can see is at no point is the outside wall touching the inside wall. So we have a unbroken, basically no thermal bridging throughout the entire home. We're using spray foam to create a dam and then backfilling with the expanding foam. And our main structural loads will go into these interior columns. But something else we did to be able to distribute the structural load, which allows us to have less material in our foundation, is using these small holes. So this is something that is not necessarily needed, but because Houston is a hurricane zone, we wanted to have, I want to say over-engineering, but a lot of thought and consideration into making this home as robust and strong as possible. So we are adding these extra structural columns to the exterior part of our home, specifically to help with hurricane force winds and things of that nature. So ultimately, the 3D printed wall acts as a facade. It only needs to hold up its own weight and wind loads. So at the end of this project, if you ripped away all of the 3D printed walls, the house would still stand on its own. So currently we have tarps covering a lot of our 3D printed structure. And the reason for that is we have not finished insulation and grouting yet. And if we have standing water within our basically our printed forms, it could potentially cause issues, especially with the spray foam. The spray foam doesn't like a very humid environment, and we can drain that from below, but generally it's easier to just start with no moisture, no water in there. So this wall failure, we were able to reprint. The layers don't look the nicest, the patch doesn't look the nicest. This is kind of a temporary fix. Ultimately, what we are going to do, we are going to grind away the ugly looking concrete, and using epoxy, we are going to replace the bad sections with a 3D printed facade. So print this elsewhere, maybe back in our factory, chop off the surface that we need to look nice, and place it right back in place. Or in a pinch, you could use one of these 3D printed trowels that allows you to basically replace the exact same layer look. So in a pinch, you could use one of these, but this is the side facing the street, so the most visible spot in the entire home. So we're really gonna take our time and make sure this looks nice. But like I was saying before, a lot of people think if you have a crack or a wall failure or something like that, it's game over. But ultimately, it's not too hard to recover. You can go back and get the wall back and looking to exactly how you want it to, and resume printing as if nothing ever happened. So this section will be brought up to 10 feet, and that will allow the CIV, our GC, to start adding in our windows, our insulation, and all those other MVP things I mentioned. And seamlessly, we are able to then go print the middle section. Because we have the long printer, it's already aligned. We do one alignment at the very start of the project. And that's what's nice about having a printer that is bigger than the square foot of your home. Versus something like a 5-axis arm on a robot where you are constantly recalibrating the machine to find its exact location. We do one calibration at the very beginning, and that's it. We're able to run from there with no more tedious calibrations, jump right back in above where we were printing before, seamlessly have the layers stacked up, and the flooring system and the roofing system will all go in secondary. So this is a hybrid construction. We're going to have a mixture of glass, wood, and metal construction, all tied into the 3D printed cores.
This project was coming together while I was living in Houston, so I got to visit multiple times as it was only like 15 minutes away from my place. Now I'm in Austin, but I'm hoping to go back soon and get a look at their updated progress when it's about 95% complete, so make sure to like and subscribe so you catch the next one. If you'd like to get a job working on construction sites like this, check out humanrobotarmy.com at the link in the description and submit your resume. You too could be a part of building the future.